What's up, kind people? All right, get this set up here, and we will be a rocking and a rolling and a going and a popping and a rolling. All right, let's see here. How y'all been? Oh, it is great to be back with you guys. Bear with me a quick second here. I just want to get the stream set up on one outlet. I just want to slide in a thumbnail, and that is pretty much going to be it. T-minus 30 seconds, and we got us a live show, my pretty babies. Let's see, where my thumbnail at? Where's my thumbnail? Here we go. Put in my thumbnail. I think it's this one. Nope, it's the next one. There's my thumbnail. Oh, you're killing me, Petey. You're killing me. File is bigger than 2 MB. What is going on with that new update? There used to be a time where you used to be able to upload your thumbnails without any issues. And now YouTube is saying it's too big. It's too big. It's too big. That's what she said. Anyway, let's try this again. Let me save this. Paste. Paste. I just said paste. It's a thumbnail I just did here. Should be this one. Okay. All right, let's copy that. And paste. Paste. Expand canvas. Okay. And let's try that one more time. Save it as a JPEG. Somebody's got to explain that to me. YouTube's new fucking update. Now they're saying that certain images are too big. Yes, overwrite that. Right. And that should do the trick. Let me try that one more time. And it's still saying too big. That is weird. Let's start the show.
Warning, the RCWR show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond since 2011. You're listening to the RCWR show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Damn you, YouTube. What's going on, my pretty babies? Elias Sanders here. You're checking out an all-new The RCWR show, covering the latest in all things wrestling, entertainment, and beyond. Since 2011, it is great being back with you guys once again for Monday night of November 30th, 2020. Here we are. It's the final day of November as we are steamrolling into December. Guys, hang in there. Hang in there. We just got to deal with essentially 5 more weeks of the month of 2020 altogether. And we can finally, once and for all, be done with 2020. I know many of you are looking forward to 2021. I definitely am looking forward to the upcoming year as well. Hey, we're live for the next little bit, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, the Periscope, the Twitter. We're all over the place. The YouTube, all over the place. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Loaded episode we got planned for you, man. Loads to get into. We haven't done a show since last Monday. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, last Monday was actually the last show that we put out. Was going to put something out with regards to some Impact Wrestling content, but I said, you know what, man? we're going into the holiday break. Everybody's going to be traveling and all that. This is a good time for me to get a little bit of R&R. So don't mind that little noise you just heard there. I'm just saving something in the background. So yeah, I actually went on ahead and took a impromptu vacation, so to speak. So this is the first show that we've done since, but we got loads we're going to be getting into. We're going to be talking about, of course, because your man over here, one of the rare few. I was very surprised with regards to my friends and colleagues in the podcast, and where I thought for sure many, out of curiosity, were going to be checking out the Mike Tyson taking on Roy Jones Jr. fight that went down over the weekend. But it looks like out of the circle, I was the only one that apparently had checked it out, at least as far as I know. So I'm definitely going to give you some candid takeaways from the overall pay-per-view. I did watch it with the exception of a couple of the preliminary fights. I think there were maybe 2 fights I missed, but everything else I did pretty much check out. We also are going to be reviewing the new Showtime documentary on the life of John Belushi. Got a chance to check that out. Football, man, we're going all over the place. Wrestling, of course, as always. So we're going all over the place on this episode. I want to know what you guys had thought about tonight's Monday Night Raw, as we are now 2 weeks away from the TLC pay-per-view event. Don't quite have a full card just yet, but again, this pay-per-view is going to be happening in 2 weeks. I gotta tell you something. I'm really not even in a pay-per-view mode just yet. I don't know what it is. It's weird. Normally, I go, okay, pay-per-view, okay, cool. But I don't know, something this go round, I just feel like I'm floating. I don't know if you guys have been feeling that the past couple of weeks, but to hear that there's a pay-per-view coming up from WWE, I'm just quite not there just yet. I don't know what it is. To each its own. Maybe I'll get there in due time. We'll see. But yeah, hard to believe that we got a pay-per-view coming up. I'm not quite ready for it. Hopefully I will. Well, I got to get ready. When it's all said and done, I got to get ready. So look, let's just talk about some key points from Monday's Raw, because I mean, we got loads of good stuff that we can get into. Do we really need to put a poll out asking you guys, what did you think about Monday's WWE Raw? I don't really think we need to. It was a so-so episode, was it not? Let me tell you something, and I'm being totally honest here. This was a night where I took my old man nap, because as I get older, to each its own, and you guys that are in your mid to late 30s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get a little older, you start to appreciate those naps when you can get it. And when you do the type of work that I do every single week, the last thing you want to be doing, especially when you have to come on live a little bit after 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast, and you typically are on until at least 12:30 a.m., last thing you want to do is be coming on, you're so fucking low on energy and everything. So I've come to appreciate those little cat naps on Mondays when I'm able to get them. I usually get into bed, I take my dog, I put the dog in the bed with me, turn on some old Western or a Bruce Lee flick, and we both actually fall asleep to it and everything. She's got her own little pillow and everything while I'm sleeping. And usually I got my alarm set for, okay, 30 minutes before Raw comes on, good to go. But I gotta tell you, tonight was one of those nights. I had Raw on my phone. I had Raw on my tablet. I had Raw on my desktop. I found myself to be very disengaged from this episode tonight. I gotta tell you, I don't know if there were many of you that were experiencing the same problem as far as focusing tonight, but I had a really hard time focusing. I was really doing any and everything else. Rarity for me, because normally Monday nights, family knows, all right, he's doing a show, don't mess with him, talk to him, do a quick drive-by, ask him something. But here's the thing, when it comes to talking to me when the wrestling is on, I happen to be one of those guys. Hey, hon. Oh, so how's your day? Pretty good. And next thing you know, I find out the next day, apparently I agreed to buy a $300 code or some shit. Like, when did I say this? Well, you said I could Monday night. So it's like I'm very focused when it comes to the wrestling stuff because I'm taking down notes and everything. But tonight I found myself very disengaged from the show. I was doing any and everything else, but actually sitting down and really just watching the show. I was even making dinner for the missus because she normally works late on Mondays anyway. I'm texting her. I'm going, hey, you still hungry? You still got an appetite? Because it's actually one of my favorite parts that I love doing for the missus because I usually have Sunday and Mondays off. And early Monday mornings and Tuesday mornings, she has to go in. Mondays are really grueling for her because she has to do 14 hours straight. So I love waking up Monday morning, whipping her up a nice breakfast, packing her a nice lunch, and making sure she goes out ready to go and everything. And I check in with her tonight while Raw was on, and I said, I don't know what match it was at this point, but I just said, man, I'm bored as fuck. I'm serious. I was bored as fuck. And I just said, hun, you good? You still want me to make that dinner? She goes, yeah, I could use a bite to eat. I'm like, okay. So I take the tablet. I don't just say, fuck Raw. I actually take the tablet. I go downstairs. I'm making dinner. I'm looking at Raw. And I'm still disconnected when it's all said and done. Very weird. Very weird. All my years I've been doing the shows here. I've been doing the show since 2011. Only a handful of times, including tonight, have I found myself to be in that type of a position. Now, I'm not saying that Raw sucked. It had a couple of things that was good, but this was pretty much one of those episodes. If you were still experiencing a bit of holiday lag, I think that's the best way I can describe it. That's okay. If you were still with your family because of the Thanksgiving holiday, or you just wanted to take a break, you didn't want to check out the wrestling for Raw this week, you were okay. You really didn't miss anything when it's all said and done. You really did not. But a couple of key notes we can talk about from the show. Look, one major plus. Can I go in with the major pluses before I go in on any constructive feedback? I love the way Raw kicked off. I did enjoy that. I enjoyed seeing Alexa Bliss with her Moment of Bliss segment kicking off the show, talking with Randy Orton. That actually was a very good opener. So I continue to sing the praises of Alexa Bliss, and I'm telling you, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I gotta go there once again. This is the most creative fun, the most energetic, the most personality that I've seen from Alexa Bliss, the most invested I've seen Alexa Bliss into something in quite a long time. In a long time. And I've been watching her since her NXT days. So I remember one of the original gimmicks that Alexa Bliss had where she had and I'm sure you guys remember as well, she had the little ballerina, I don't know what the hell was going on there, fairy dust skirt or whatever. And she was coming out. It looked like a little Tinkerbell. And I guess, I don't know who was in the back. I don't know if that was, well, it wasn't a McMahon move. But obviously, that's the first incarnation of Bliss we had got long before that tag team came about there. Shout out if you all remember the names of those guys she was representing in NXT there. But yeah, this is the most fun that she's had. And, if you'd have told me 2 years ago, hell, 3 years ago, hey, Lee, you're going to see Alexa Bliss in a few years have a segment with Randy Orton on a Moment of Bliss, I would go, wait a minute, huh? Why? What the hell? And then you say to me, you're actually going to enjoy that segment too. I'd go, huh? That doesn't make any sense. Really? Because, not for nothing, I would say I'm a fan of Alexa Bliss, but I'm one of those fans where if there's something I'm not feeling, I am very quick to give my constructive criticism. So I've been very neutral when it comes to Alexa Bliss, and I've definitely done my fair share of the in-ring ability. But no, tonight was actually a really good night where the back and forth banter with Randall, enjoyed it. The battle of the mind games there. Loved it. Loved it. Who's stalking who? Who's playing who? You heard a little clicking. That's just a pen there. Bad habit. Who's playing the mind games here? Who's getting the best of who here? Is Randy Orton really the one that, anybody else thought that maybe Randy Orton was getting ready to do a freaking RKO or do a little DDT there? Anybody thought he was going to get as physical as he did with Beth Phoenix several months ago on Alexa Bliss tonight? I sure as hell was in front of the TV for that, trying to see what's going to happen right here. Lights going out and everything. Lights come back on. Fiend is there, but Randy Orton somehow manages to get Bliss in his arms. Or actually, yeah, he did have Bliss in his arms, and then real quickly just freaking coughed her up like a hot potato. Here, fool, catch! He just rolls out the ring. Loved it. And it also kind of had a little bit of, I don't know why, but for some weird reason, I was also fondly reminded of the late Michael Jackson and his relationship with his monkey Bubbles. Do not ask me why I was thinking that when I saw Alexa Bliss in the arms of the Fiend, but that's just where my mind went. Freestyle thinking, folks. No notes. I've got nothing here tonight. What I'm saying is just anything goes. That's just how it goes. But that was a really great opener. I did enjoy that one. Going into some of the action for tonight, Elias taking on Jeff Hardy. Now, how many of you guys remember from a couple of weeks ago, I said, can we just get Jeff Hardy and Elias in, a battle of guitars match or some type of an instrumental match already? And I actually said, shout out if you remember this, I actually said, I don't know, let's go with a Symphony of Destruction or something of that nature. And I'm a big fan of Megadeth, and that's actually one of my all-time favorite songs from Megadeth. So to hear tonight that we got Elias, Jeff Hardy, instrumentals match, a Symphony of Destruction match, basically. As they did say, Symphony of Destruction, I'm going, hot damn, okay, all right, you got the name, you got the gimmick, okay, now deliver the goods. Because let's be honest, just because you got the name and all that other stuff, that doesn't mean it's going to be popping. You got to actually now deliver the goods. And I actually would say that Elias and Jeff Hardy, they actually delivered the goods tonight. So I'm actually quite happy with how the match played out. I tell you what, I wasn't expecting the cameo there from R-Truth, defending his 24/7 championship. Nice little Benny Hill run-in moment there while all the action was going on between Elias and Hardy. Wasn't expecting that. It was a pleasant surprise. It was a welcome surprise. I didn't sour on it whatsoever. Normally, look, and I'll be the first to admit, look, the R-Truth documentary, by the way, if you guys didn't get a chance to check that out, watch it when you get a chance. Great shit. But not every single thing that R-Truth has been doing with this 24/7 and the segments, and not every single thing has been haha funny. There's just been some where you go, yeah, I could have done without that. Really, I could have done without that. And that's not R-Truth's fault, because as we learned from the 24 special on R-Truth, I mean, charismatic, yeah, 24/7. Energetic, yeah, 24. That's not the problem. He can only do but so much out of a very thin script, basically, that's given to him. Yeah, he takes a lot of nothing and turns it into something. But there's been some instances, sadly, where I could do without the 24/7 stuff. But tonight was actually okay. Laughed my ass off hysterically seeing Elias get electrocuted. That was probably, I'm looking at it. I was reminded of one of my all-time favorite scenes from Married with Children. And shout out if you all remember this scene. But you had Al Bundy. He was talking with Jefferson. And they were going over an instruction manual. And I think Al was trying to do something to a wall socket, if I remember. And the next thing you know, what was so iconic, I remember Al saying something like, left, and Jefferson goes right, and Al goes, got you. And you just couldn't help but laugh your ass off right there because you knew Al was about to fuck himself up really good. And sure enough, he electrocutes himself. I automatically was thinking about that when I was watching Elias just all of a sudden outside the ring, great action that's going on, going down to the wire in the final moments. And all of a sudden, Elias just freaking electrocutes himself and he's just shaking and everything. And if there was ever a time to be a concerned rival in Jeff Hardy, oh man, that didn't look quite right there. Is he okay? What's going on with him? Hey, refs, hey, EMTs, check on this guy. Hey, if there was ever a time to go in and make sure that somebody is okay, that's the perfect time to do it because it would appear that somebody got electrocuted. But no, we're just gonna add more insult to injury and we're just gonna hit a motherfucker on the back with a guitar. Yeah, you're electrocuted. Sorry about that, but wham! I love that. I love that. The electrocution, all that. Love that. Hilarious spot right there. Good action. Good. That was actually a good match. That was actually one of my favorites of the night. Favorite of the night. A lot of fun elements to it. The 24/7 stuff, all that. I enjoyed it. It was decent. I don't care what anybody says. Actually, for me, that was a really good, decent opener. All right, so Slapjack taking on Ricochet. You gotta forgive me, I kind of missed how this had came about because apparently there was some stuff that Retribution was saying backstage. The gist of it, Slapjack, slap nuts, slap my mama silly over a piece of fried chicken, whatever name you want to call him. He basically says, Ali sees in me, whatever, okay? Ali can hit you with foreigners. I've been waiting for a girl like you. And you know what? If that's what has you going, he gets me. He really, really gets me. I will die for you. Yeah. Darling, if you want me to, you. I will die for you. It's like, okay, whatever. To each its own. I didn't care about that. But, the match was actually good. I will definitely admit that. That match was actually decent. If I remember this right, Dana Brooke actually got involved in this. I mean, she just appeared out of nowhere, grabs Ali, slaps the hell out of him. This was just random because now I'm trying to think to myself, well, wait a minute. Did Mia Yim, I'm sorry, her name is Reckoning, did they have some type of a run-in last week or the week before? Because I remember Reckoning beating the crap out of somebody backstage. I'll have to rely on you guys to help me connect the dots because lately my brain has been all over the place on non-wrestling related stuff. So school, preparing, voiceover projects and all that. So I'll have to rely on you guys. If it was Dana, then it made sense of seeing Dana Brooke out here tonight. But it was quite random to see Dana just, get in the face of Ali there, slapping him silly and everything. And you're kind of under the impression, okay, well maybe Dana Brooke here is going to be the X factor in helping Ricochet get a win over Slapjack. No. That wasn't it at all. Ricochet managed to kick T-Bar off the apron, took a swipe at Ali. Slapjack comes in with his finisher. 1, 2, 3. That's pretty much it. This was... How can I really put this with regards to this match? People are going to be a lot harsher on this match, but I thought it was an average match, but it was just clusterfuckish on a couple of different levels. Okay, from this standpoint, so you already got other guys that's out there for Retribution. And yet somehow, little old Ricochet, little Ricky, Baba Lordy, little Ricky, yeah. We having a baby? Shout out if you know your Lucy references. So I'm led to believe that Ricochet is just able to take advantage of all the guys that's at ringside, including Ali. He's just able to get this big one up over all of them. He's this dominating guy. He just owns all of these guys. And like, okay, well, that's not really consistent with what was happening with Ricochet prior to Ali being revealed as the leader of Retribution. All right, so we got a little bit of inconsistency right there. Furthermore, wait a minute, I thought Retribution was this whole pack of wolves. They have this wolf mentality where, nah, man, one for all, all together. We're gonna come in. We're gonna hurt you. We're gonna do some serious business. We're really gonna hurt you bad. Yeah, I didn't see any of that in this match. So for me, there was a little bit of inconsistency right there. So in order to, let me just make sure I got this straight. Because if I remember right, Mia, what's her name? Reckoning. She was not there at ringside during this match, if I'm not mistaken. So in order for Dana to feud with Reckoning, I'm just trying to make sure I understand this right, because it doesn't make sense. So she has to come out, smack the hell out of Mustafa Ali, and say, hey, tell your girl I'm looking for, whatever. And that is supposed to... Okay, so now you kind of see where I'm coming from with regards to that one. But yeah, it is what it is there. Lana, Asuka, taking on Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler. Didn't particularly care for this one. I got to be honest. It really didn't do anything for me. Lana Asuka picking up the W, but this one, it just hot garbage. I cannot be honest. It was just hot garbage. I didn't care for it altogether. It was just hot garbage. Miz Morrison putting the screws mentally into Sheamus, trying to get him to eventually turn on McIntyre. I asked you guys a couple of weeks ago. I posed the question, where exactly do you think this whole Sheamus McIntyre thing is going? Does Sheamus have his own motives here, or, is Sheamus genuinely trying to reconnect a bond, a brotherhood that he used to have with Drew McIntyre? And are we eventually going to see that, or is the Celtic Warrior eventually, okay, dude, you've told me no so many times. Dude, what the hell? So those are some of the aspects I pointed out a couple of weeks ago, but now you got Miz and Morrison kind of stirring the pot there a little bit. Sheamus not biting that carrot though, because Miz and Morrison actually gave Sheamus a proposition. They said, look, how about you help us, we help you. Look at all of the things that you've done so far over the course of the past couple of weeks for your man Drew. And how is he reciprocated? He ain't done jack for you. So how about you take some of that frustrations out by helping us get him in a position, bro kick him, we cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase, maybe we can give you a shot at the title. Because Lord knows, once Miz becomes champion, of course he's going to do the right thing and give his buddy Morrison, wink wink, a shot at the championship, right? Correct. God damn, that thing's getting annoying, isn't it? I'm wondering, when is the t-shirt coming? Maybe the t-shirt already exists. I'll have to rely on you guys. I haven't been on the WWE shop site in a good minute now. But yeah, interesting spot, and I couldn't help but chuckle. And I guess it's a good segue. We'll kind of switch it up a little bit because I was going to talk about it much later. But it's kind of a good segue because, but there's really not too much else to talk about with regards to Raw overall. So, eventually we see Xaiver Woods, Kofi Kingston in the ring, and we get the official acknowledgement in the middle of the ring that Xaiver Woods, in case you missed it, he has been named as one of the new hosts for the relaunched G4 TV. I did watch the G4 TV special. hilarious. It was great seeing Kevin Pereira, Olivia Munn, um, Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb. It was just great seeing all of those cats again. Brought back so many fond memories. I actually watched it with my girl because true story, when we first started dating, G4 TV was still on. And religiously, I would always turn on X Play. I would turn on Attack of the Show, and she'd be right there watching right alongside with me. And a lot of times, because she's a gamer herself, but a lot of times some of the stuff I was watching her, she's like, what the hell do you have me watching here? She's like, this is stupid. I was like, yeah, hey, it has its moments. Like, just watch, it has its moments. But it was great seeing the old gang get back together again. Man, did I have a great childhood. Just seeing all of those guys there, especially going into my young adulthood, yeah, I'm just like, those guys were a big bulk of that, I mean, I don't want to get too long-winded with G4 and everything, but, everybody's got their go-to when it comes to video games. Everybody's got I remember back in the day, before the G4 network came along, my go-to mecca was Game Facts. I don't know how many of you guys were Game Facts, or maybe you currently are still Game Fact fans. But Game Facts, that was my number one go-to site. I would go there for news. I would always be posting in the bulletins and everything. That was my go-to. And then eventually, I started going with Game Informer. I would get a monthly subscription for Game Informer. Had it for a couple of years. If you wanted it to be truly unbiased, that's where you typically went. You didn't want to pick up a PlayStation magazine. You didn't want to pick up an Xbox magazine, because it really wasn't truly going to be unbiased. So you usually went with stuff like Game Informer and all that. And IGN was okay. I did like IGN, but I leaned more towards Game Facts. Teach you something. For me, it was about Game Facts. One of the best cool things that I loved about Game Facts too was the fact that you could look at the entire list of games that were going to be coming out for that respective quarter, or games that they knew for a fact. Okay, here's the official release date. Here's what's going to be coming out quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And, they would have, like, in those respective subcategories, they would have, news, screenshots, video game clips. And, I mean, they were good. They were good. But then when G4 came along, it was like, holy shit. Like, what the hell? My absolute favorites from G4, I would say hands down, X-Play. Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb, in specific order, Adam Sessler first. Because I related to that guy on so many levels as a hardcore gamer. And I felt Adam embodied that geeky side of me and everything. And Morgan was just way before we had the era of hot babes running around showing their jugs and playing video games, or trying to pretend to play video games and all that, but really not doing a damn thing. They're just using their looks just to get the subs and the freaking bitcoins or whatever else they're calling it nowadays. Morgan Webb, as far as I know, was one of the original women that were out there that, okay, this woman knows not only her video games, she knows how to frickin' play them, and she knows how to talk circles around your head when it comes to talking candidly about these video games. I mean, very, very tomboyish, but so freaking cool in so many ways. Was she cute? And a tomboyish, hey, this girl likes the same kind of stuff that I do. She was cool in those type of aspects, but the fact that she knew her games and everything, it was impressive. It was freaking impressive. Olivia Munn was she was like one of the boys. I mean, she would do things you like, damn, she's really letting it all out there, huh? Like, what the hell? So to hear that, over the course of the past year, hey, G4 is coming back. Xavier Woods, he had this long campaign. I endorsed it. I said, hell yeah. He wants to be one of the new hosts for G4. Hell yeah, why not? Fits like a perfect glove. It makes perfect sense. Is it going to count against his downside is my question. I mean, so look, we got to address the elephant in the room. Come on now. Come on. I mean, let's be for real. So little Zelina Vega, who was on the rise there with everything that she was doing with her Twitch, with her OnlyFans, all this other stuff. I would like to learn a lot more about the circumstances of her release and everything, what she is able to talk about freely without any repercussions, because, was WWE trying to get a piece of the pie? Were they trying to get a piece of it? Because if they were trying to get a piece of it, then my question would be, well, how much of a piece was WWE trying to get of this? Now, to each its own. But if it's a case where, look, you want to continue to do that, all right, all right, give us about 20% of that pie. 20% will leave you alone. You can keep doing what you're doing. But if this was strictly a case of WWE going, no, you just got to shut that shit down altogether. We don't want you doing nothing with those platforms. You just got to shut it down altogether. Definitively, that's what I want to know. I hate to assume. So definitively, I want to know what exactly the 411 was on that. But for the sake of the argument, let's just say they wanted that shit shut down. So you wanted her to shut all that shit down after seeing how much money she was able to make, how much popularity she has on those social media platforms. And rather than figure out a way to, okay, you can keep doing all of those things, but in addition to that, we want for you, here's an idea, to create original WWE content for us, and we'll let you keep all of that money, and then for what you're doing for the WWE content, out of 100%, we'll let you keep about 15-20%. I mean, if I have to weigh the options, some of you guys may say, man, those are some. But, if you really kind of stop and think about, okay, you're going to let me keep all of this other money that I'm making outside, and you're going to give me 20% of what I'm doing for WWE, but I get to keep all that outside stuff. Okay, all right, sure, what the hell, let's do it. Compromise. Some of you may say, well, that's some weird-ass compromising, but you get the point. How can you kind of turn that down? So, Zelina Vega is shown the door because of these outside projects. Xavier Woods is named one of the new hosts for G4. And, yeah, I mean, is it safe to assume he's getting some of that G4? He's going to be giving some of that G4 money to WWE. Is it safe to say? Or, boy, I tell you, that's all I got to say. Weird. It's just weird how all of this shit just, no comment. All you can do is just, after hearing all of that, all you can do is just laugh at that. But needless to say, I'm happy for my man Xavier Woods. I can't see what he's going to be able to do with the G4 family. I'm looking forward to it. Continuation and storyline there with the Hurt Business, with Xavier and Kofi and everything. Let's see. There was actually a match, if I remember it right. Xavier Woods taking on Cedric Alexander. Actually, it was a good match. Cedric Alexander getting in the W there. Other than Cedric Alexander decisively defeating Xavier Woods, the other thing that I enjoyed about this, first of all, I've always enjoyed for these past couple of weeks where we get Xavier Woods, Kofi interacting with the Hurt Business. I mean, I can listen to those guys just go back and forth that actually was pretty good tonight. I will say that. So see, I'm being very complimentary so far. When it's all said and done, short match though. I actually wish those guys would have went a little bit longer. Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, AJ Styles figuring out who the number one contender is going to be to face Drew McIntyre for the championship. AJ Styles coming out of this with the win. So, damn good match. As far as match of the evening, this was the match. Pure fucking awesomeness. All these guys, my hat's off to them, because this was actually, if you were channel surfing at this point and you saw this match, if you didn't stay with it, you missed out, because this was actually a pretty damn good matchup. I was quite surprised at the time placement for this match, because I actually thought this was going to close out Raw. But now we kind of know why this was where it was and how things ultimately were set up for the main event of the night. But AJ Styles I'm down with that. AJ McIntyre, look, I've got no problem, because you need that main antagonist right now for Drew McIntyre. You need a charismatic heel that can, I hate to go there, but kind of carry the feud there with McIntyre. So to speak. I think it's safe to say that the timing of this, very good. Fans are starting to grow a little bit tired there of Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, and rightfully so, when it's all said and done. Rightfully so. But AJ Styles, with this new mouthpiece that he has, and Hakeem Olajuwon, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. But here's the bigger mystery that seems to continue to unravel piece by piece every week, which is, what exactly is the connection there between Matt Riddle and Hakeem there? That's just how I'm dubbing him, because he's so tall. He reminds me of Hakeem Olajuwon. What is their connection there? Because what have we learned so far? One, dude knows how to speak English, something that AJ never knew. And dude's like, well, you never asked. All right, so that much we learned. And obviously, he has some type of a quirky personality side to him, because there's been, now from what we've seen the past couple of weeks, there's been a couple of things that's been very relatable to him from Matt Riddle. So, when are these guys talking? What exactly are they talking about? And just, what does that mean exactly? Because I mean, it feels like eventually, just kind of going down the rabbit hole of storytelling, it feels like eventually Matt Riddle may say something along the lines of, hey bro, you can do better than him. Come on, he's using you, man. Don't you see? You're much more valuable than he is. Know your self-worth, dude. I mean, the sooner, the better. You feel me where I'm coming from? It's like water pouring out of the faucet going into a cup. And then you need your straw so you can drink your water. Be like the water in the cup when you take the straw and put it in the cup of water. You feel me, bro? That's how it kind of feels like eventually where Matt Riddle is going to be going with this. So we'll have to see, but interesting. So yeah, AJ, Drew McIntyre, I'm down with that. Lee is continuing, not me, I'm not talking in third person, but Keith Lee, he's continuing to show a little bit of frustration there as far as not being able to pick up these milestone wins when they're coming his way and everything. As a matter of fact, backstage, we'll talk a little bit more about Keith Lee in a hot second. Backstage, Matt Riddle bumps into MVP, and y'all should remember what happened last week. MVP said something along the lines of, let's go over your resume, let's talk about this, let's talk about that next week, and depending on where you are, maybe we can talk business, otherwise, we're going to have a different conversation. Well, they did have that different conversation where Bobby Lashley proceeded to beat the crap out of Matt Riddle. Okay, now we know exactly the next feud that Matt Riddle's going to be embarking in. Okay, so that pretty much wraps him up. There was a backstage segment where Keith Lee ran into Sheamus. And Lee basically said to Drew, hey, there's some chatter going on backstage. We're hearing that you may be turning on Drew. And Sheamus says, look, as far as I'm concerned, that's none of your business. Stay out of it. All right, so that's pretty much, and we kind of know why Keith Lee inserted himself into that. It's pretty much one of those, hey, I don't care what's going on there. Drew is actually still my friend. You mess with him, you're definitely going to be hearing something from me. So you kind of got that nice little element that's cooking right there. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Probably a 90-second match. Dana Brooke. Accidents happen, right? Let's first say that. Accidents will happen. And I'm curious to see how the writers are going to address this when it's all said and done. Match opens up. Mia Yim does a drop kick to Dana Brooke. Missed a kick in the corner. Dana comes right back. Goes for a cover. And somehow Reckoning's mask comes off. Oh my God, it's Mia Yim! Oh my God, it's Mia Yim. Well, when I count at the most, do you think Samoa Joe, Dirty Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, do you think any of them mentioned that? Nah, they just pretty much glazed right over that bad boy, and they just kept talking about the in-ring action. Never acknowledging the mask even coming off. So you're looking at this, and and at this point, I had just got done finished making dinner for the missus. And shout out to JD, because I'm like, I actually went to Twitter. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Why are they not calling her Mia Yim? Am I missing something here? Did the mask come off by accident? Did Dana Brooke rip it off, trying to see once and for all, who the hell was this girl? What's going on? And shout out to JD. JD said, no, it was a mistake. Dana knocked it off. So it's like, oh, fuck. Accidents happen, right? Look, not for nothing. Dana Brooke, you may have noticed a few times that I have mentioned Dana Brooke past several weeks. I've been complimentary. I've even said, hey, this new team, Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, okay, I can get behind that. They seem to be clicking. Seems like Dana Brooks finally found that little niche there of relevancy to a certain degree and everything. Because Lord knows, as far as somebody that's been given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and it's so funny because I was watching the WWE Network over the weekend, and something random had happened where I ended up seeing an old match of Dana Brooks. I don't know how it happened, but I ended up seeing her debut match in NXT. Don't ask me. Somehow I came across that. I don't know. It was like autoplay. I don't know what the hell happened. But, I mean, this is a girl that has had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And this go round, it seems like, as far as being a long-term player, she's there to stay. Whether or not that means she's going to get a championship run, I don't know. She's going to become a tag team champ. I don't know what the future holds for that. Anything's possible. What I will say, I've enjoyed the team of her and Mandy Rose. I have enjoyed that. Look, accidents happen, miscues happen. I would say this is no different than the infamous, was it Crown Jewel, where Kane's mask came off there when Kane and Taker, Brothers of Destruction, were taking on Degeneration X. So shit like this happens, but what's really, really kind of nerve-wracking is that Mia Yim, never once did like Kane. And that's a true veteran in Kane. Because think about that for a second. So at this point, Kane, we've seen his face for how many years? And yet, despite that, Kane was very quick to, no, I gotta protect my face. He was very quick to do that. I just wish Mia Yim would have been so quick to protect her face, try to get the mask back on and everything. And how this match ends up going, again, 90-second match. Dana Brooke picks up the W. We got Mustafa Ali scolding the hell out of Mia. Now, look, with the commentators not acknowledging that was Mia, that lets me know, okay, not only was it an accident, but if there was ever a time to call an audible during this match, because accidents happen, capitalize on them, this would have been it. But it did not happen. Now, I'm hoping that going forward, Vince, writers, they got the common sense to say, okay, well, now since Mia has been revealed, I mean, USA Network, Raw, hello, Mia Yim, NXT, hello, we got to do something here. It makes all the sense in the world to follow up on the scolding that Mustafa was doing to her this week, and maybe we should actually see Mia Yim be in a series of rematches against Dana Brooke where Dana continues to get the best of her, and ultimately Ali says to Mia, look, if you can't get the job done against this woman, you can't show us your value, you can't really show us your worth and why you should continue to stay here in Retribution, then you no longer have a place here. Hey, I would be so fucking fine with Mia Yim being removed from Reckoning, because this has been one of the most inconsistent, inaccurate, poor storytelling of a stable that I've seen in quite a long time when it comes to pro wrestling. I think many of you would agree with that as well. Nothing is more infuriating than when you go to your pay-per-view and you're going, okay, if there was ever a moment here where something needs to go down here with Retribution, if there was ever a moment, many of us were thinking somebody's going to attack Undertaker at Survivor Series, and it did not happen. We even were going, hey, Retribution. Especially when we saw Kane out there dressed in his outfit. Oh, Kane's going to do something physical. Cool. Nothing happened. Every time you go to these pay-per-views and you're thinking, okay, something's going to happen here. Hey, this would be a cool spot for Retribution. Nothing happens with Retribution. Nothing. Poor storytelling, poor booking that's been going on. And look, I love me some Mia Yim. I've been a fan of hers for years. I've brought her name up quite a few times. I can remember checking out some of the stuff that she was doing in Shimmer Shine, a couple of places there. And me personally, I would love, if there's anybody particularly that I'm fond of in Retribution, I would like to see be done from Retribution, Mia is actually one of those individuals. I would love to see her just, honestly, if we can't just reinsert her on a permanent basis on NXT, draft her to SmackDown. But you got to clean up what happened this week. You got to, because, I mean, it's not like, oh, we didn't know. It was like, well, we always knew, but now that her face was pretty much out there for everybody to see, come on, man. You got to. So hopefully everybody will be smart and they'll capitalize on that. Let's see. Main event match of the night, Miz Morrison taking on Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. AJ Styles was on commentating. Pretty much closing moments of this one. Drew and Sheamus, they actually picked up the W here. I still don't know where they're quite going here with Sheamus. Maybe it seems like maybe they're going to be a tag team perhaps once the title is taken off with Drew. That kind of seems like maybe that's where they're going to be going, or maybe Sheamus costs Drew the title and Sheamus and Drew feud for a little bit. I don't know where exactly they're going to be going with that. But that tag match, that went about maybe 9 minutes there. AJ was at ringside. He tried to get him a piece of Drew McIntyre there. And it was kind of funny too because because AJ's on the apron and he's ready to do some stuff there. And AJ's yelling at Miz actually to turn in the Money in the Bank briefcase. Morrison comes in with the Starship Pain on the Drew. Miz comes in with the Skull Crushing Finale. But all of a sudden, big Hakeem Olajuwon, he grabs that Money in the Bank briefcase. No. The Kimbe Mutombo. No. Yeah, it ain't happening. AJ tries to convince Miz to cash it in, sees Drew, and Morrison then tries to interfere. Claymore kick is given to Drew. No, Claymore kick is given to Miz. Drew is staring a hole down to AJ, and AJ just continues to act like he wants him a piece of Drew. He does this move where you think he's getting ready to attack Drew, but he somehow ends up on the shoulders of Hakeem Olajuwon there. And he's saying, put me down. I'd mess him up. I tell you, I mess him up. I'll mess him. I fix him into next Tuesday. And pretty much show goes off just like that. Okay. It was okay. It was okay. But no, with regards to Big Dude grabbing the briefcase there, kind of doing the Kimbe Mutombo there. No, AJ knew what was up. Big Dude knew what was going on with the briefcase and everything. They were trying to set something up, but it just did not happen when it was all said and done. Okay, Raw. It was all right. If you didn't watch it, you didn't really miss too much. Honestly, I would say, I'm just going back looking at the matches one more time here. I would say match of the night for sure, Matt Riddle, AJ Styles, Keith Lee. I give an honorable mention to Cedric Alexander taking on Xaiver Woods. Other than that, guys, looking at the rest of the matches here real quick. Give me a second. Yeah, and you know what? Honorable mention to Jeff Hardy and Elias. Other than those three matches, the entire 3 hours of tonight, honestly, you really didn't miss anything. The opener there with Orton, Wyatt, Bliss, good stuff. But other than that, average episode when it's all said and done. Hey, I want to take this time out. Thank those of you that are checking out this edition of the RCWR show. Covering all things wrestling, entertainment, and beyond since 2011. If you guys have been having a good time so far checking out the show, do me a huge favor, depending on where you're checking this out. Subscribe, of course, so you don't miss out on all the great content that comes your way. If you want to check out the webcast version of the shows, we stream them on YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Facebook. So make sure you're subscribed to one of those outlets. Definitely the YouTube. Show the YouTube some love and everything. Click the bell icon and all that. Hit the like, so you don't miss out on all the content. It helps out too. It helps out big time. So let's get into some more stuff, man. So we got some somewhat wrestling related tidbits, and we got some non-wrestling related tidbits that we can get into. Let's get into some non-wrestling related tidbits. Yeah, okay. So your man here, I did check out. Actually, you know what? Before we get into that, I was getting ready to talk about the Tyson Jones fight. Before we get into that, I do want to shout out our Patreon members. Patreon.com/RCWR show. Check out bonus audio video content you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. With the holidays and everything that was going on, the content was just a little bit slow. But now that things are kind of getting back to normal here, me and the missus, we're back on the saddle, new content, we're rolling it out. So she's already on me saying we got to do something this week for Patreon. So I'm trying to get with her to see when she wants to do something. So there is a lot on my plate right now between preparing to go back to college next year, planning the wedding in North Carolina, and then Christmas, on top of all of that, it's just, guys, I'm all over the place right now. Not making any excuses. I love when I'm multitasking like this. You know, it keeps me busy and everything. Time actually flies. But yeah, we're gonna be doing something for Patreon this week. So patreon.com/RCWR show. $5 a month. Check out bonus audio, video content, a lot of content you're not gonna be able to find anywhere else. Bunch of stuff at your fingertips off the break as soon as you subscribe. Shout out to Patreon members Gino Morgan, Gino. Shout out to Justin Stock. Shout out to Freddie. Shout out to Michael Wolf. Shout out to John Davis. Shout out to Tony Bing Gaming. Want the latest in all things Marvel Strike Force, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Marvel's Avengers. I see that coming up, I believe, on December 8th, we're going to get the Hawkeye Kate Bishop DLC. You know my man Tony Bean Gaming, he's going to be covering all of that. Tips, tricks, news, walkthroughs, reviews. Check him out. He's on YouTube. He's got a Patreon paywall as well. Tony Bean Gaming. We'll get into some more shout outs later. All right, so your man over here saw the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. fight that went down over the weekend. And it was kind of funny, too, because I almost forgot about the fight on Saturday. Because I actually was at work Saturday. And let me tell you something. I got a lot of respect for my friends, my family, my woman, for getting up but early on weekends. I mean, super early on weekends to go to work. My boss hit me up last week. You know, originally I was supposed to work last Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But then I think it was last Thursday. No, it was last Wednesday. My boss goes, "Oh, hey, Lee, I need a huge favor. I changed your schedule." Well, first of all, how you gonna say you need a favor, but you've already changed my, like, I ain't say that out loud, but that's what I'm thinking to myself. But he goes, I actually need you to come in earlier. You know, I know I put you in for 11 to 3, but I need you in earlier. I need you to come in 9 to 3. I'm going, oof, 9 to 3. I'm like, you're expecting that much traffic? It's like, yeah, it's just gonna be busy. Like, okay, all right, cool. So Friday night, and that was another reason why I didn't put a show out, because of the short turnaround. So Friday night, I'm wired like I don't know what. I'm super wired. I drank some wine. I had my melatonin. I'm like, just come on already. I'm still wired. I got about maybe 4 hours of sleep when it was all said and done. My commute actually began to get to work. My commute actually began at 7 in the morning. Now, my friends and family and the missus, you know, for them, that's nothing. Hell, you know, for some of them, they actually begin their day at 4 in the morning. But I have not gotten up that early in a long, not for a couple of years. Not since maybe I was working security and I was still doing that market research job a couple of years back, when I was just juggling two of them. So it was, ooh. And I no longer drink coffee. I haven't drunk coffee since I was doing my Invisalign, which was like a year and a half. So trust me, I wanted coffee so, you guys have no idea. I wanted coffee so bad, but I said, nah, man. I just whitened my teeth. I finally had wrapped that up. I'm like, I'm not interested in staining my teeth. I put too much time, money, resources into my shit. I'm not interested in messing them up again, man. Like, nah, I'm good. But Jesus, yeah, but I was at work on Saturday and somebody was like, "You gonna watch the fight?" I'm like, "Fight? What are you talking about?" "Oh, the Tyson, Roy Jones Jr." I was like, yeah, maybe I'll watch it. And so, you know, got home. And the missus was like, "We watching the fight, right?" I'm like, "Oh, you actually wanted to watch that shit?" She's like, "Yeah, I actually wanted to see what was up." So, like, "Oh, okay, sure." And so at this point, by the time she says that, I'm going, Oh, okay. So I order it thinking, well, we didn't miss anything. Missed a couple of the prelim joints. So where I came in, let me look here. So Edward Vasquez taking on Gonzalez Jr. Didn't see that. That was the undercard. I didn't see the undercard. Ortiz taking on Sagawa. I did come in and see that. So really just the first one, the featherweight joint on the undercard. That's the one that I missed. Look, all the fights overall, I'm gonna talk a lot more about Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. I am definitely gonna talk about my man Nate Robinson. Look, the card overall for $50, and they were basically doing this through Triller. Mario Lopez, I actually follow Mario Lopez on Twitter. Been a fan of his for years. Of course, Saved by the Bell. I actually like some of the stuff he's been doing on. Is it Access Hollywood he's on? I think it's Access Hollywood. Didn't he used to be on Extra? Could have sworn he used to be on Extra. But I like his stuff. He's pretty good. Um, Father Time has been very kind to him. That is a guy that just he has not aged. He has not aged. I mean, he looks magnificent. I gotta tell you. And I don't say that lightly. For me to compliment another guy on his looks, that's very big of me to say. Because, you know, there's some guys that just look like shit. I call it how it is. But that guy, whatever he's doing, I don't think it's surgery. I really don't think it's surgery because you can literally take an image of this guy from back on his Saved by the Bell days and compare it to now. Like, I would challenge anybody to try to say, plastic surgery. Nah, he just has really good genes. There's only one other person that has exceptionally good genes as Mario Lopez. I would say John Stamos. John Stamos has some really damn good genes until he grows his beard. I don't know if you guys have seen John Stamos with a full beard, but once he has grown his beard out, oh man, forget about it. My man look like a hobo. But anyway, $50 for this pay-per-view. First of all, I would say all of the matches overall underwhelming. 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 Not worth the $50. I feel for anybody that had dropped $50 on this and they thought that, you know, you're gonna get fireworks, you're gonna get nah. You know, honestly, this pay-per-view should have been 30, maybe $40, give or take. I don't know about 50 and up. Hell, over here in the DMV, there were actually a lot of bar establishments and other places. They wanted 75 to 100. They wanted 75 to 100. Now, what I mean by that is some of the places that were out here, like if you wanted to try to check out the pay-per-view and everything, and you didn't have the means to do it, some of them were holding like little private joints so you could actually, you just got to know the right people and everything. And of course, hey, you got to buy X amount of drinks, food, whatever, to be able to watch. Some of them were enforcing it. It was definitely a hot spot over here in DC over the weekend. But if you were to ask me straight up, would I pay for another one of these pay-per-views? Excuse me, from the Mike Tyson camping crew? No. I saw what I needed to see. Now, let's talk about Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., and then I'll talk about the Nate Robinson joint. Look, man, I love boxing. If y'all have been checking out the show for a couple of years now, I'm very passionate about boxing, as well as some of my family members. All of us, I mean, who doesn't know a Rocky line from all the Rocky movies, right? I mean, but we love our boxing. If boxing happens to be on, we're watching it. Not so much MMA these days, but if there's a boxing match on, hey, leave it on here for a second. That guy actually looks pretty good. Let's see what he's about. We'll leave it on. And let me tell you something. Growing up as a little black kid in the projects, Mike Tyson, him coming through the ranks. Mike Tyson, for a young kid like me, growing up, he was definitely a symbol of, man, here's a guy that I can relate to as a black kid. Here's a guy I can relate to that is from the ghetto, knows what it's like dealing with life on the streets, having friends that are getting caught up in the drug, gang violence, losing their lives to it as a result, or getting incarcerated at an early age, single parents, welfare, all of that, living in the projects. Here's a guy that definitely speaks to us. And this man came from nothing, absolutely nothing, rose through the ranks, and ultimately became a world heavyweight champion. Man, and all he had were his two hands. That's what he used to do. That's what he used to get himself up to the top of the mountain. For kids like me growing up back then, very awe-inspiring. Very awe-inspiring. For me, it was early on, it was, yeah, you know what? There is more to life than just this. And if I put, if I put my brain, if I lock it on something that I'm passionate about, something that I really love doing, a hobby of mine or whatever, yeah, you know what? That just might be my ticket out of the ghetto as well. So what he was doing back in the day, it resonated with me, my family. Man, I can't tell you how many times there used to be a Mike Tyson fight on, man. And my dad, my uncle, man, we would either be having a get together at my uncle's house, or my dad would have a get together, at our house. My mom is serving up the food, the drinks, and, yeah, everybody was paying for that pay-per-view too, man. If that pay-per-view was $40, my dad was like 15 ahead. He was getting that money back and then some. Oh, you want some drinks? You didn't bring your own alcohol? All right, well, I got this. That's going to cost you, blah, 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 a can. I mean, he ran his shit smart. But, man, when the Mike Tyson fights used to be, we would gather up for them. We would always gather up for them, and we would be watching them. It was the talk that whole freaking weekend, that whole week going into the weekend. Tyson. My dad loved Tyson. Had his fair share of Tyson posters, a couple of magazines, all of that. Uncle as well. They were big. There's two, as far as black athletes go, man, back in the 80s, going into the 90s, that my family, thanks to them, particularly my dad and my uncle, Michael Jordan, ever since his days playing in North Carolina, Mike Tyson. Those were the apex. So, and let me tell you something. I know a lot of people didn't quite understand. Man, this guy did what he did to that actress. He raped her, and man, how all these black people gonna still stand behind, because he represented all of us as far as our everyday struggles. And for some of us, yeah, we were able to, okay, well, you know what? Let's follow the evidence where it's gonna land. Let's follow it where it lands. And wherever it lands, innocent until proven guilty, right? Okay, well, it's gonna land where it's gonna land. But even when he was found guilty and all that, and he got incarcerated, you still had those of us, myself included. I mean, I was pretty much a teenager when he got incarcerated. I still was like, nah, you know what? We all make mistakes. He's going to learn from this. We still looked at him as, you know what? Yeah, that was a fucked up mistake. But still, everything that he accomplished from the ghetto to where he is now, he was still that, hey, be like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you could be like Mike. So take your pick. You could be like Michael Jordan. You could be like Mike Tyson. For us blacks and other poor ethnics in our own respected ghettos. Those were the guys that we had looked to and everything when we didn't have that much else going on, sadly. So he was a bad motherfucker. He was a bad motherfucker. I remember one of the last pay-per-views that I ever saw prior to what went down over the weekend. The infamous Evander Holyfield joint, biting of the ear. I remember all of us, me, my friends from high school, we all were gathered in front of the TV when we were seeing this, and we're just going, fuck, we just watch. What the hell just happened here? And we just shook our heads in disbelief, and we're going, what the hell is going on with Mike? What the hell's going on with Mike? Like, this ain't the Mike we grew up on. Like, now he's snapping, biting people's ears off. Like, what the hell is wrong with this dude? Is he mental? Does he need to be in a psych ward? Like, what drugs is he on? And what's going on? And we just, for any of us, we specifically looked at that moment and we just was like, okay, we're out. We're out. And then the infamous fight, y'all know the name. I try to block it out of my memory, so I can't even remember the dude's name. But the white guy that Mike Tyson had faced, and he essentially just sat there for the 10 count, taking a payday, and he got his ass booed out of that fucking arena. Man, you know, I remember when I and family members and friends heard about that, we were like, well, that's not shocking. And if anything, it just made us disappointed even more. And we were like, okay, whatever. Just gonna, all right, forget about Mike, whatever. But Mike, you know, Mike had some wrong people that was in his corner. I think we all can agree to that. Fuck Don King. Don King, one of the biggest snakes of them all. One of the biggest snakes of them all. Accurately portrayed in Rocky 5, by the way. Accurately portrayed. Tommy Ford, remember that? Tommy Ford, Rocky Balboa, Rocky training Tommy Ford there. But, you know, for me, the resurgence that Mike Tyson has been on, I would say like the past 15 years, it's been amazing. It has been amazing. It's like he has found himself all over again. You know, the Mike Tyson mysteries, just everything that the guy has been doing. You're like, okay, doing his podcast, openly smoking weed on his podcast and everything, always giving me good laughs and all that. So, you know, yeah, I will say the curiosity got the best of me as far as ordering this pay-per-view, checking it out, seeing, okay, what's Mike Tyson like this go round? They saying that Mike Tyson had lost 100 pounds. Okay. Now, I will tell you, as far as the conditioning goes, hey, look, I'm a big dude. I know a big person when I see one. Was Mike Tyson still, you know, just a little bit pudgy going into this fight over the weekend? Yeah, he definitely was a bit pudgy, but I got to give him mad props. I got to give him mad respect. My man lost 100 pounds. You know how hard that is to do, to lose 100 pounds? Extremely, extremely hard. Extremely hard to do. Before I met Tams, I weighed 170 pounds. This family loves to eat, and you know, me eating like a bird, that was a big issue for them. That was a big issue for them because, you know, I got some of the family members thinking, what's wrong? He doesn't like our cooking? Like, you know, is he sick or something? Like, what's going on? And so, you know, now I weigh 230. I was at my heaviest at 270 earlier this year. And now I'm down to 230. So trust me when I say, as someone from personal experience, as far as weight fluctuating and everything, I definitely know how hard it can be just to even try to lose 30 pounds, 50 pounds. to lose 100 pounds, and you're trying to do your very best to get in the best boxing shape possible. Mike Tyson went into this and he looked like a man on a mission. I saw instances, especially with the right hook and everything. I saw instances where, man, I'm seeing the Mike Tyson of old that was in his 30s, that was in his 20s. I'm seeing that Tyson. I saw flashes of that brilliance when I was watching him. Roy Jones Jr. Boy, I tell you, Roy Jones Jr., this is where it gets really weird for me. Mike Tyson has been out of the boxing game a lot longer than Roy Jones. Mike Tyson's 54. Roy Jones is 51. Roy Jones last fought like 3-4 years ago or something like that. Roy Jones, when I first saw him, I'm not making fun of the dude, so please, people, don't take it the wrong way. When I first saw Roy Jones coming into this fight, I'm going, is that George Foreman? Wait a minute, I thought Roy Jones was supposed to be fighting Mike Tyson here. Well, what's George Foreman doing? Wait, he got a new grill? He getting ready to promote or something? What's going on? And then when they did a close-up, I'm going, oh, shit. And I see the freaking third handle pop up. Shit, that's Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. He was in the worst shape I've ever seen him in. I mean, the moment that he came out there, he kind of seemed like as he was walking out there, he was kind of limping a little bit. I'm going, what's going on here? Did he hurt himself while he was trying to prepare for this fight? Now, I heard he lost a little bit of weight going into this fight, but conditioning-wise, he did not look like he really did anything whatsoever. For a guy that's only 51, this guy looked as if he was in his early 60s. Again, I'm not making fun of the guy, but this dude looked like he moved like he was in his 60s. Now look, anybody that saw this fight can tell you straight up, when it came to this fight, it was obvious Mike Tyson worked out some type of an arrangement with Roy Jones backstage. Hey man, look, we just gonna go out there, we gonna do our thing. I ain't gonna hit you in the face, alright? You wanna give me a couple of shots? That's fine, but look, I ain't gonna hit you in the face, alright? We just gonna do this, we gonna get our money, we gonna be good to go, alright? You gonna get paid, I'm gonna get paid, we gonna have a good time, we gonna go smoke some weed afterwards, we gonna have some drinks, we gonna laugh about all of this, it's all good, alright? See you in the ring. Because when you go back and you look at this fight, not one time did Mike Tyson punch Roy Jones in the face, and he had plenty of opportunities. I mean, he was going in good on that body. I mean, he was going in on that body like freaking Rocky Balboa in the meat locker, and Paulie's like, well, let me ask you something. You balling, my sister? And Rocky just starts just banging the hell out of that damn meat on the rack. I mean, Mike was going in to Roy Jones' body just like that, but he had so many instances where face is wide open. All you got to do is just go in with the freaking hook, go in with that underhook. That's it. It could essentially be lights out. Mike never took any openings. It was sad to see. It was. It did not scream, take my money. It damn sure didn't scream, because now it's, rematch. For this shit to end in a draw, I thought that was laughable. I polled you guys, too, after the fight was over. I specifically polled those of you, obviously, that saw the pay-per-view and everything. And I said, hey, what did you guys think? And there was 2 polls I put out. The first one was, you guys agree with the split decision. And I gave you guys 4 options. Yes, it really was a draw. No, Mike Tyson should have won. No, Roy should have won. And the last option, didn't matter to me. 3% of folks felt that, yes, it really was a draw. Meanwhile, 8% didn't matter to me. Overwhelming 90% said, no, Mike should have won. And me and my girl, we're watching this, and we're going back and forth and everything, and we're like, we got the scorecards in our own head and everything, and as each round was in it, because it's 8 rounds total, I think it went like about 3 minutes each round. We're going in our score count, in our scorecards, in our minds, like we're looking at each other, like, I got Tyson winning that. I got that like 10-7. She's like, yeah, I'm scoring it. I'm scoring it. 10-6 or she's whatever, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck? And so when we get to the split decision and we hear it's a draw, we're like, bullshit. Tyson should have won that hands down, easily. More punches landed and connected. Roy wasn't really doing anything. Roy was just in there just trying to survive. That's what I saw. I just saw a man trying to survive. I don't like saying that about Roy Jones Jr. because in his own right, that man was the motherfucking man back in the day. The motherfucking man back in the day. But it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to watch that. So to hear of a possible rematch, yeah, sorry. I now look. I actually would be more interested in seeing Mike Tyson take on somebody, a little younger. Not necessarily, a young lion looking to prove themselves or something like that. But I would be interested in seeing him take on somebody in their 40s. I would be very interested if there was one fighter just off the break. I would love to see Mike Tyson face. How tall is Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson is what, guys? He seems like he's either 5'9" to maybe 6'1". I would like to see him take on Oscar De La Hoya. That for me would be, so I can get a really good feel where Mike is physically right now. I think that would be more up his alley. If you were to give me a pay-per-view in a couple of months, Mike Tyson, Oscar De La Hoya, I would say to you, take my money. I actually want to see that. That's actually a fight that I would actually be invested in. Let's see how that goes. Because the joint with Roy Jones, no. Now, let's talk about Nate Robinson. For those of you that did not see Nate Robinson taking on Jake Paul, but you saw the assault of comments that was all over the place over the weekend, including some of the stuff that I had said. Nate Robinson taking on the YouTube sensation Jake Paul. Look, I saw what some of the people had to say about that fight on social media, and I'm just going to home in on what I said specifically on social media, how I felt about it, because now that I've basically had a day or two to double down on it, thanks, Steve. Steve saying Mike Tyson is 5'10". So the height of him and De La Hoya is basically matching up. That's the point that I'm making. I think they will complement each other well. That's more up Tyson's alley, I personally feel. So hopefully we can get something like that in the cards. But that's just one name that jumps out at me. Hell, I wouldn't even mind seeing Floyd Mayweather. I wouldn't mind seeing Floyd Mayweather. Now, I think Tyson might have a little bit of a height advantage over Floyd Mayweather. Steve, tell me how tall Floyd Mayweather is. Because I know Tyson, you said Tyson is 5'10". I'm curious how tall Floyd Mayweather is. But unless you're going to give me Oscar De La Hoya, unless you're going to give me Floyd Mayweather against Tyson, I'm not really interested. But Nate Robinson taking on Jake Paul. For those of us that did see this fight, and I did see it, let me tell you where I'm coming from in case you saw some of the tweets that I put out there, okay? What I saw in all my years, and it's decades now that I have been watching boxing, okay? I've even just out of the spur of the moment over the years, I've gone on YouTube or Daily Motion and I'm looking up old boxing matches with Muhammad Ali, Smoking Joe Frazier and everything. God, I miss ESPN Classics because on the weekends they used to show classic fights and all that shit. What I saw with Nate Robinson, thanks Steve. Steve is saying Floyd Mayweather is 5'8". So definitely to my point, Tyson has the height advantage, but that would still be, I think, a pretty good balanced fight between the two. What I saw of Nate Robinson was an individual that was not properly trained. Now, some people can make the argument, all he was trained in was offense. No, my pretty babies. What I saw with regards to Nate Robinson was a guy that just was not trained, period. Maybe he might have been given some fundamentals, but when that bell rung and it was time to go out there and it was time to to string all of that together and okay, now we got ourselves a boxing match, let's go. All of that from what I saw from my perspective was thrown out the window. He went into this boxing match like it was a street fight. Let me do this analogy because this is exactly what I saw of Nate Robinson. You mac into a girl at a club. Jake Paul comes up to you and says, dude, what the fuck you doing? Go find your own girl. Nate Robinson's all mad and shit. They take it outside and street fight. What I saw was Nate Robinson acting like this was a street fight. From the moment he came out of the corner, just swinging wildly with his right hand. Not even connecting or anything, just a wild man, just swinging. Left himself wide open right then. I mean, he was leaving himself wide and open more than once. I'm looking at that, I'm going, oh, this man's already defeated. This man's already defeated. I can see this right now. Even my girl's going, I don't know what the fuck that was, but he needs to slow the fuck down. I mean, this is her saying it off the break. Match ain't even been on for 10 seconds. She's going, he needs to slow down. I'm going, yeah, like, what's going on with this guy? Like seriously. And he's just continuing to throw these wild swings. And we're going, if this dude is not careful, okay, obviously Jake Paul, he's still a new boxer. Once he gets the idea of, okay, are you taking me off guard here? I'm not really sure what to, I guess Nate Robinson was trying to look for a quick knockout. I guess that's what he was trying to look for. I don't know what the hell he was looking for. But whatever the hell he was looking for, he ain't find it. And the fact that once that first round ended, and then we go into the second round, and the fact that Nate Robinson, the fact that his people did not properly calm him down. Anybody, this is the thing. You don't need to be a boxer. You don't need to be any type of a fighter whatsoever. All you need to be is a fan of the game and know enough to know, hey man, Nate, let me give you some solid advice going into this next round. Don't be going out there swinging wildly like a madman. You're leaving yourself wide open. This guy could have taken you out in that first round. The second round, I need you to be more conservative. I need you to save that energy. I know you're hot, you're fired up, you're like a firecracker right now. You got to conserve that. Remember, we got multiple rounds here. This is not all about going in and quickly trying to get a knockout. You need to be conservative. You need to go in there, look for your openings. Where you see your openings, wham, go in there, hurry up, connect. Push come to shove. Jab, jab, move, constantly be on your feet. Stay away from the ropes. That's what you got to be teaching this guy. And whatever went down with this man going into the second round, I mean, I don't know what they told him, if they told him anything, but his ass got knocked the fuck out in the second round. And rightfully so, because he was doing the same stupid shit that he did in the first round. And he paid for it dearly. I like Jake Paul being very complimentary and saying, hey, it takes a lot for a guy to get out of his comfort zone and come in here and do something like this. So, he's got my respect from that standpoint. What a very classic thing for him to say and everything. I saw some people trying to compare Nate Robinson to CM Punk. Big difference. Big difference between CM Punk's two fights and what went down with Nate Robinson. The big difference is that at least what CM Punk was taught, you actually saw it on display offensively and defensively. You saw that he was trying to string it all together. And yes, granted, was this a guy that honestly should have been facing somebody that was of equal level? Yes. And see, here is the significant disadvantage that Nate Robinson had taking on a guy like Jake Paul. Jake Paul already had one fight under his belt. So essentially, you can make the argument that Jake Paul has now had a year to 2 years experience of boxing, preparation, all of that, just overall experience. You can make the argument that he's had a year to 2 years experience of an advantage over Nate Robinson. Furthermore, Nate Robinson going into this fight, this was not the Nate Robinson that I remember of old. This Nate Robinson came into this fight looking a bit pudgy. I almost didn't recognize him. I almost did not recognize him. I had to do a double take and go, wait, who is this? Who is that? Really? That's Nate. He looked a bit pudgy. I was appreciative that he had put on a bit of size for this match against Jake Paul, but it almost kind of reminded me of when Christian Bale had first did the Dark Knight. And when he did the Dark Knight, you also know the infamous story. I think he was fresh off of the Machinist, maybe, or something like that. But long story short, Christian Bale had put on so much weight that when it was time for filming, Christopher Nolan, took a look at him and was like, "Are we filming Batman or are we filming Fat Man?" Because Christian Bale had got too blown up. And if you notice when you first go back and look at the movie, almost like you could almost say like the first half of the movie, Christian Bale's, a little bit thick. And then, the second half of the movie, he pretty much gets into the Batman shape and everything. So, I'm looking at Nate Robinson and I'm going, man, he's filled out, but he's not filled out in the right places. He was very pudgy there in the gut and everything. Nobody's going to take away from Nate Robinson everything that he's accomplished in the world of the NBA. Future NBA Hall of Famer inductee, yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Nobody's going to take that away from him. Nobody's going to take away from him the 3-time NBA slam dunk contest winner. Nobody's going to take that away from him. First 2-time first team All-Pac. Nobody's going to take that away from all the other accomplishments. Nobody's going to take that away from him. But here's the thing. Going out of your comfort zone from basketball to take on something like boxing, man, you got to heed what the trainers are trying to teach you. And, for him to even have the audacity to do this type of fight, I'll give it to you right between the eyes. I think he went into this fight saying to himself, oh, this gonna be easy. I'm gonna beat the white off of that freaking white boy. I'm gonna beat him so bad. I'm gonna beat the white off. This gonna be nothing but pink meat by the time I'm done with him. This gonna be easy. And when you do that, you're already defeated. So I have a feeling that as far as the training and all of that, he probably was just some white boy. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how he shunned Jake Paul. And it cost him when it's all said and done. It was an embarrassment. He really should have been fighting somebody of equal experience. Much like with CM Punk, he really should have been fighting somebody of equal experience, no record. That's really what should have went down. Right down to the point. Look, I said it on Twitter, and I had to make sure I got permission afterwards the next day. But I'm doubling down. Look, if Nate Robinson ever wants to go at it again, he's 36 going on 37. I'm turning 40 next month. If he ever wants to go at it again, I would gladly. We could do it for charity. I don't care. All the money can go to charity. It can go to, St. Jude's kids. It can go to, our essential workers so they can have the PP mask and all that. However, it needs to go down. But I would fight this guy for nothing. Just so I could go in there and, okay, we're matching each other one-on-one experience, all of that. Some of these matches that are booked, it just really, I wish we could get away from a position where we got to sensationalize on the names and not really play up to a person's experience. We really should be playing up to a person's experience and making sure that they properly have a fucking chance. And Nate Robinson had no chance. And here's the other thing. Whoever his team was, all of them, they need to be fired. He needs to start from scratch. He needs to go with a better team. Straight up. But that was an embarrassment. I've seen some knockouts in my time. That was rough to watch. And the memes and all that didn't help. Probably the best one I saw that just had me rolling. Nate Robinson knocked out in the middle of the ring. You got MLK. You've got Malcolm X and a couple other black people that are looking down like, what the hell, son? And then I like the joint on Twitter where Nate Robinson said, I'm going to be making history this weekend. And Steph Curry's like, go get him, fam, or whatever. But then after the loss, Steph Curry follows up and says, I see no lies. And you go, oh, like so fucking true. So fucking true. But that whole representing for the culture, representing for athletes everywhere. And boy, that's a lot you put on your plate, brother. That's a lot you put on your plate. And that's all I got to say. Now, he did, for those of you that saw it and you're like, hope that dude's okay. He did put out a little message on Instagram saying he was okay and he appreciated everybody's kind wishes and everything. Like, where'd you see kind wishes? I'm sure there was a few, but that'd be kind of hard to dig through, man, because, he was the meme that just kept on. Sleep happens, mattress discounter. We saw him on a mattress discounter ad. See him, My Pillow. That dude, he was the meme that kept giving all weekend long. Mario Lopez did great as host. I knew nothing about YG. Now I'm a big fan of YG. I'm like, oh man, this dude sound good. Like, first of all, dude's only 30. He's had 11 albums so far. I'm like, damn, this dude made 11 albums, and like I've never, and I'm into my rap. It's like, but like, damn, how the hell did I miss YG? Like, fuck, I've been doing. YG had the best performance, as far as I was concerned. The best performance. Snoop is Snoop. We've come to expect, as far as his performances go, like, it's Snoop. Like, you in good hands. But for me, what was the most was YG. I love that. By the way, brought to you in part by Weed Maps. Does it get any better of an advertiser than Weed Maps for your freaking fight? Brought to you in part by Triller. That's just freaking hilarious. Snoop on commentating. Look, he had his moments. I'm not trying to shit on Snoop. Look, Snoop had his moments, without a doubt. But it got to a point where, and I wasn't the only one that felt this way. I saw Shelton Benjamin. You can actually go on my Twitter timeline. I actually went back and forth with Shelton Benjamin. It was weird not seeing him on Raw this week, by the way. Hopefully we get to see him in action. Wait a minute, maybe he was in action and I just didn't really Because who was in the ring with MVP earlier tonight? Wasn't it? I think it was Shelton, actually. So, yeah, I just really wasn't paying attention. But I had an exchange with Shelton about Snoop Dogg's commentating. Because Shelton said, am I the only one that doesn't, care for Snoop's commentating? And I said, no, it's not you. I said, honestly, after about 5 minutes, I clocked out. It's like I'm paying my $50, like teach its own. Like, but for me personally, I'm paying my $50. I really want to hear Mauro Ranallo, because Mauro Ranallo, for me, he's become the showman that gets you the excitement, and Mauro's that guy. So as soon as I found out, oh man, I got Mauro Ranallo. Mauro Ranallo looked fantastic, by the way. He looked very well rested. Hair is now down to his shoulders. It's like John Travolta, Pulp Fiction type of hair. Looks pretty badass. I mean, that's the thing with Mauro Ranallo. You never know what type of Mauro you're gonna get when it comes to his hair at these pay-per-views. I mean, he's got this abstract style when it comes to his hair, but I like his hair right where it is. I gotta say, I hope he keeps the long hair for a good while. It actually looks really good. Compliments him and everything. But he looks very well rested. Very well rested. Coming in very witty, jokes and all that, looking good. Sugar Ray Robinson is there on commentating. I'm going, I can't go wrong with that. I can't think of the name of the other fighter that was there doing commentating. He was okay for a guy that never did color commentating on a boxing match before, or for a boxing pay-per-view. He did exceptionally well. I think he was, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think he was a former MMA fighter or something, or maybe he still is an MMA fighter. I'm not sure. But he did good as well. All of those guys, they clicked very well together. So my point, that should be a permanent trio for all future, fights for that Mike Tyson Triller, whatever the hell is going on there. Mike Tyson leagues, whatever the hell is going on there. But after a couple of minutes of Snoop on commentating, I clocked out. It was okay. Like I'm good with the side, banter stuff. Like I'm good. I just want the action. And it got to a point where during that main event match, look, I laughed hearing, oh, it's like, two uncles fighting at a barbecue. Like, yeah, it actually did. That was funny. But, I think in part, I didn't like the fact that he was showing a little bit too much favoritism towards Roy Hopper. And then also, it was just a case where, look, I've seen enough Snoop on Undisputed to know he's knowledgeable when it comes to his sports. If you just take away the slapstick comedy and you just really just come at Snoop, Snoop is very insightful. He knows his shit, right? But for me, I don't know, for this particular night, I wasn't really in a comedic, and I just put my TV on mute and I just was watching the fight with the missus, and, we're just going over what we're seeing and everything. And I did have closed captioning on, though. At one point, I even switched to Spanish. I even switched to Spanish commentating. Everybody's going, oh, man, more Snoop on commentating. We got to have more Snoop on commentating. This is phenomenal. Oh, this is awesome. All I got to say, folks, be careful what you wish for. Let me tell you something. Not everything was a success when it came to taking somebody, oh, this is a very entertaining, a very funny person. Let's have them commentate a sport. Not everything was peaches and cream. Keith Olbermann is somebody that comes into mind who had did his share briefly, calling some games, trying to be at the sports desk talking about some of the football action, and he didn't last that long. Does anybody remember when Dennis Miller was hosting Monday Night Football there with Al Michaels and Kathy Lee Gifford's late husband, Frank Gifford? Yeah, that didn't last that long. Does anybody remember, not exactly comedic, but does anybody remember when Rush Limbaugh was part of the whole talking football as well? We got to be careful because that's a slippery slope. It's a very, very slippery slope. And if we're not careful, again, be careful what you wish for, because once you get it, you may find yourself to be in a position where you go, okay, yeah, that was good, but I'm a little bit burned out now. Can we go to somebody else here? Um, that's just my whole thing. To the point, like I was telling Shelton, I said, man, you know, I'd have settled for Rosie Perez. Rosie Perez knows her. Hey, long time. That girl knows her shit. I would have loved to hear, what she had to say. And maybe that's something that, now see, here's how you can freshen it up. What I am okay with is, if you want to rotate Snoop, don't let him be a permanent fixture. If you want to have him be a rotating guest, I'm okay with that. But let it be a rotating joint. Bring in other cats. Like I just complimented Rosie Perez. That's somebody you can bring in there. Michael Ravenport. Ravenport. He's very sports knowledgeable. He's a guy that you could definitely put in there. Make your rounds. Do that. Bring in those type of legends, and bring in anybody else that has some good name value, that also happens to be a big sports fan, knows their shit and all that. So I do think that there is something that they politely stumbled upon over the weekend when it comes to guest commentating there, with the permanent guys. And I definitely think that that's something they should explore. But don't put all the marbles into just one person and have that person be the regular, because that's going to get fizzled out real quick. But for $50, it would take a lot for me to order another one from these guys. And like I said, I got to see Tyson taking on De La Hoya or Floyd Mayweather for the next one. If I ain't seeing one of them two joints, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to chill on that one. Let's see. Let's get into some other stuff here. How are we doing on Showtime too, by the way? Let's see how long we've been recording. We've been doing pretty good. We've been almost on the air for about 2 hours here. Hey, real quick, want to give you guys a heads up. Chelsea Green, she began her injury rehab. If you guys remember, she had suffered a broken wrist earlier this month. And this was when she made her SmackDown debut, by the way. And remember, she had took a drop kick off the apron, and she had posted on social media earlier Monday saying her first day of rehabbing began. So hopefully she'll be back in a quick turnaround there, man. That's just rough. Got some Alberto Del Rio news for you guys. Alberto Del Rio was indicted by a grand jury in Texas for aggravated kidnapping and sexual assault, as you guys know, last month, after originally being arrested back in May. But now the woman who made the accusations against him has allegedly issued an apology to him on Instagram. This is weird. Del Rio's brother, Hero de Cascaras, I believe that's how you pronounce it, responded to the woman's apology with his own statement. He said, and I quote, he said this in Spanish, but good folks were able to translate. He said, well, again, as everyone knows, the truth already falls under its own weight. After so many months, finally, the garbage person who accused my brother of something totally false spoke with the truth, admitting her lie. And although she apologized in such a mean way, after all that, she calls my brother already my family, both personally and professionally. I hope it serves so that those people who destroy my, family, St. Carnell, open their eyes, and so that those people who supported him and did not turn their back on him do justice, because in the end, he, like many other celebrities, was the victim of, and I'm just going to stop reading it right there. What have I always been saying on this show for a good number of years now? Self-accountability. There's self-accountability to go all the way around. Now, look. If this woman did tell a lie, then with regards to the criminal trial for Del Rio, That's set for January 25th of next year. So, we'll see what happens. Does this mean that the case gets dismissed? What happens? We'll have to wait and see. But self accountability goes all the way around. It's no different than, let me put it to you in this type of layman's terms without being long winded. You're responsible for your actions the minute you walk out the door, just as I'm responsible for my actions the minute I walk out of my door, just as that local police officer is responsible for their actions the moment they leave out of their door to go to work. So the self accountability, it goes all the way around. And I mean, look, there's only but so many times that a person can try to continue to be the victim before you say, well, man, I just already ran out of fingers here pointing at everybody else but me. I mean, the problems with Paige, the problems with his first wife, problems he was experiencing with whoever he was dating after Paige, and then okay, when do we take a step back and say, you know what, I think maybe, yeah, there might have been some issues with some of these people, but man, something's going on with me. Like, what do I need to do on my side of things? What do I need to do to change things from within so that I can be a better fucking human being and treat my partner better? It takes a big adult to take a step back and really think outside the box and really switch it up. So you guys got to forgive me for just cutting off that diatribe there. But, all I heard right there is like, okay, once we start going with the whole victim, poor, woe is me, it's like, yeah, pump the brakes on that. AEW Dark for this week. They got 17 matches lined up. It's going to be premiering this Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern on the AEW official YouTube channel. Check this out. 17 matches. Shayna taking on Tisha Price. Adam Priest and Sean Maluda versus Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. versus Caesar Bonani and Ryzen. Danny Limelight versus Brandon Cutler. Stu Grayson and Evil Uno versus Baron Black and Fuego del Sol. Leva Bates versus Alex Garcia. Matt Sydal versus Aaron Solo? KTB versus Sean Spears. Angel Fashion, VSK, and Sean Donovan versus Gun Club. George South Jr. versus Bobby Wayward versus The Acclaimed. The Dark Order 5 and 10 versus Jurassic Express with Marco Stunt versus Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. John Cruz versus Peter Avalon. Kaylin King versus Catalina Perez. Oh, Lordy. Lindsay Snow versus Evilise. Lady Frost versus Red Velvet. Chaos Project versus Alex Chamberlain and Seth Gargis. Ricky Starks versus Damian Fenier. Gotta say, 17 matches and we got 5 women's matches on the card. Okay. We're coming along. We're doing a lot better. Remember, I was complaining about some of the lack of women's matches on previous dark cards. So that's pretty good that we got the women in there a little more love. While we were away on our break, sadly, the wrestling industry had lost another one there. This one was definitely somebody that was widely respected. You never heard bad things really that was said about this individual. He goes back to the TNA days, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. Bob Ryder. Bob Ryder was one of its founding members there of that promotion. And he actually stayed with TNA even once they became Impact Wrestling. He was with them all the way from day one. He was with them all the way until he died. According to Wrestling Observer, he was found dead in his home in Nashville by police, and he'd been battling cancer for years and was unable to attend some of the events in person. He was actually working remotely during the final months leading up to his death, when the cancer and all that was kind of getting the best of him and everything. He was doing chemotherapy. And after suffering a fall, a few days prior to his death, he texted several people that he was all right. However, he did not respond to any messages or phone calls, and eventually police were called to his home to essentially do a welfare check, and that's how they discovered his body. I mean, this is a career that goes back to the 1990s, WCW World Championship Wrestling for sure. The work that he was doing for OneWrestling.com. I've actually interacted off and on over the years at an arm's distance with some of the folks there at One Wrestling. One Wrestling, in case you guys don't know, Bill Apter. I mean, he's pretty much the guy that was behind the site. I know at one point Big Ray used to work. I don't know if he still does, but Big Ray used to work for One Wrestling. Andre Corbill used to work for One Wrestling there as well. But Bob Ryder had essentially helped launch that site, and it basically inspired all the other sites that you see today. They pretty much had followed the same format, so to speak, that OneWrestling.com was doing and everything. Bob Ryder went in with the Jarretts, Jeff and Jerry Jarrett, when it came to the talk of TNA, and Bob Ryder was right there and was like, okay, all right, let's go ahead. Let's do this. During his tenure at TNA/Impact Wrestling, you saw the likes of Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, Gail Kim, Sting, Booker T, Christian, Matt, Jeff Hardy, Mr. Anderson, the Young Bucks. Just imagine how things would have been if the Young Bucks, Bob Ryder properly introduced American wrestling fans through their TV sets properly. He gave them the proper introduction, if you will, of the Young Bucks through TNA. Just imagine if that platform, TNA, wasn't around, Bob Ryder and all of that. Would things have still played out the way that it did eventually for the Bucks? You really can't help but wonder that. But this is a guy that was behind a lot of memorable, awesome moments that happened in the TNA Impact Wrestling promotion. And so a great impact. You know what? If I were a betting man, to my knowledge, he's not in. But if I were a betting man, I would say, as far as next year's TNA Hall of Fame, Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame, Bob Ryder for sure, he's going to get inducted. He's definitely going to go in, and that should be a pretty emotional moment for his family. And look, if that is how things are going to be going down, if he's next, if he's going to be posthumously inducted, I'm actually all fine for it, because when it's all said and done, Impact Wrestling as it exists right now, like just the whole domino effect, when you trace everything back, just how you can put the Jarretts in there, just imagine if you didn't, have Bob Ryder behind the scenes there, So yeah, I mark my words, I definitely feel that he's going to get inducted next year, so look out for that. Speaking of, we were kind of talking about Dynamite there a little while ago there. Looking at the ratings here for both shows, very interesting. So for the week of November 25th, AEW did a 0.26 rating. That gave them 710,000 viewers. NXT did a 0.20 rating. That got them 712,000 viewers. So that's a nice little rebound that NXT was able to do, considering just the week of November 18th, AEW had crushed NXT, 850,000 viewers to 638,000. So pretty good there. Pretty good there. It looks like Dynamite hit a 5-month low while still staying on top of the demo rating. So they brought in that 0.26 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, down 30% from 16% from the previous week's numbers that we just went over. I mean, it's kind of interesting there. I don't know how you shake that up there. AEW was ranked number 7 among cable originals for that night, with CNN's Kumio Primetime winning the night on cable with a 0.31 demo, 2.178 million viewers. NXT, meanwhile, came in at number 25. What I want to follow up with you guys on another edition later on this week, I want to do the segment by segment breakdown, because I think that's really what the key is, because I'm most curious about that. Shout out to Devon Dudley. Devon Dudley is missing some tapings right now due to health issues. Not sure if that is COVID related, but your guess is as good as mine. But hopefully he'll be back real soon. Sorry to hear that that's going on with him. Over the weekend, I also had an opportunity to check out the John Belushi documentary by Showtime, titled Belushi. Now, I'm a big fan of Saturday Night Live. I grew up on the Dan Aykroyd, the Jim Belushi, Gilda Radner. I used to stay seeing the classic episodes when I was a kid, and there definitely was that period there in the 80s where not everything was haha funny with Saturday Night Live. There was that period there in the 80s, and longtime SNL fans will tell you, how was that show even able to still wing it during the 80s? Like seriously. But yeah, weird. But I've seen so many documentaries, whether it was 1-hour joints, you name it. I even saw something on Autopsy, the last hours of John Belushi. There were so many specials that I've seen over the years covering John Belushi, and the focal point would always be on the sad, tragic ending. That was always the hook, and everything was it was all about that hook. And, you never really learned anything new. And so when I heard about this one and I heard about the rave reviews for it, I couldn't help but go, all right, well, let me check this out. Let me see what's going on. I actually don't have Showtime, so I actually signed up for a free month trial. And that's how I was able to watch it. I would recommend, for those of you that are curious and, you want to watch it, I would say get the free month trial. Just remember to set a reminder on your phone. Hey, I got to make sure. I would say the only thing that I really learned this go round that I thought, wow, they did a really good job connecting me more with the man behind some of my most favorite SNL skits. They connected me more to the man behind the jokes, the man behind the laugh. I never knew until watching this documentary how much of a tormented and troubled soul that Belushi was. And it's sad. This man, when it's all said and done, he needed therapy. He needed therapy because that's great that you got the rehab. That's great that you got that. But as the late Carrie Fisher said, and this was awesome how the director went about recording all the interviews that he did. So essentially, he conducted interviews, sit down interviews. It was like taped interviews, basically. He was calling them and he was basically taping the conversations, and he pretty much was able to build a autobiography on Belushi this way. And Chevy Chase, Carrie Fisher, Dan Aykroyd, Candice Bergen, Harold Ramis, Jim Belushi, Lorne Michaels, creator producer of SNL, Bruce McGill, John Landis, Penny Marshall, Jane Curtin. My God! Of course, and I gotta make sure I give her a lot of props. Judith Belushi, John Belushi's wife. It took the director like 10 years. R.J. Cutler. It took him about 10 years just to be able to get the widow in a good position where she felt comfortable enough to, okay, based on, what's going on with the project. I'm sure she was hands-on in this project and, seeing what was going on every step of the way, and eventually, okay, all right, I'll go ahead and I'll contribute because she is somebody we rarely hear from. So that was actually, one new element that was thrown into all of this was her being so candid about her time married to John and everything, right down to the point, first time ever, she even shared personal letters, little journals, things that John would write to her during his travels, whether he was going to Second City and SNL or you name it, he was always writing to her, and you got a better idea what was going on. This guy was dealing with some demons. And, I don't mean the kind of demons that, it's at the end of a bottle. Now, if anything, the drugs that he was taking, it was helping him alleviate that pain he was feeling from those demons. Part of it had to do with his parents, always wanting his dad's approval, that love, that affection, that respect, never really getting it. His mom, as we had learned, she was an aspiring actress. Looked as though things were going her way. One point in her life when she took off was in some theater play, but eventually came back for whatever respected reason. And, once she had the kids, that pretty much was her dreams. But it seemed like no matter what John did for his parents, trying to be that glue that makes everything. I'm sure everybody can relate. You want the very best. Excuse me. You want the very best for your parents. And, you want to give back to them, especially when you see that, hey, my parents, and in this case, Belushi's parents, essentially immigrants coming into this country, starting from nothing, dad working, had his own little burger joint. John didn't want to do that. That's not, he wanted to go find that piece of the American dream and somehow pay it forward and, come back a success that his parents could be proud of and everything. But he never really felt as though he got that seal of approval from his parents. So, with that at its core, setting up eventually what was to come for the man, and you just can't help but wonder how things would have been if he'd spoke to a therapist and really kind of hammered some of that shit out, honestly. And then second of all, this documentary made me feel numb. It made me feel numb from the standpoint of, I remember vividly where I was when I found out when Chris Farley died. And I bawled like a baby when I found out. I looked at Chris Farley when I was growing up on him. I looked at him like the new John Belushi. And how he died, the circumstances surrounding his death, the age in which he died, just everything was just eerily similar to Belushi. That just makes you go, what the fuck? What the flying fuck? Just weird. But, something that I saw a lot of people were missing the mark on when they were reviewing this. I was reading up a couple of editorials, just, kind of getting a feel for what some people had to say about it. What a lot of people were missing the mark on here was the fact that R.J. Cutler was able to get probably some of the last known recordings, audio-wise, of Carrie Fisher talking about candidly, her relationship with John Belushi. And there was something in there that was so painful to hear from Carrie Fisher. And it comes at this pivotal point in the movie where she talks about how her and John were like on the beach or whatever. And John is looking at the moon. And, he's in his, I don't know if he's nude or if he's in his swim trunks or what, but he screams at the moon and says to the moon loudly, "You and me, we're both addicts." And R.J. Cutler says to Carrie Fisher, yeah, when he was on that beach, because I don't know if you guys remember, but there was one movie that came out that bombed big time in the theaters. I sadly can't think of the name of it right now. But it bombed. Was it Neighbors? Something that bombed badly. I mean, real badly it bombed. And at that point, he went away and was trying to find himself and everything. And he was on this beach with Judith, and he had a bodyguard. I wish I could remember the bodyguard's name, but this guy, he did something for a former president and all that, and he felt that, okay, well, with these people helping me out, I can't go wrong. I'll be able to stay clean. This was a guy that always yearned for affection. He always wanted to be around those that he considered to be his friends, considered to be, good family, those that he could totally be himself around, but at the same time, he just kind of seemed like that little kid that just was always trying to get into some, but feared of being truly alone, because it would be alone in his thoughts that maybe he would do things he has no business doing and may live to regret it. That's just kind of the vibe you got overall from this documentary here. But R.J. Cutler says to Carrie Fisher at that point in the documentary, well, at that point, he had been sober for a whole year. He didn't do any drugs for a whole year. And she says to him, it must have been crazy for him. I'm paraphrasing, but she says it must have been crazy for him because, that's the biggest misconception that a lot of people have is, okay, hey, you stop doing drugs. It's not stopping drugs that's the problem. It's the sobriety that's the problem. And she went into more detail about that. And for me, it was just so painful and heartbreaking hearing that, knowing what ultimately would be the demise of Carrie Fisher. You feel where I'm coming from? Dan Aykroyd getting one of the last, just heartbreaking, just getting one of the last voice messages from Belushi. He could tell that the man was hurting, that he was in pain, and he kept trying to do his best to call John. And when he finally was able to touch base with him, he's like, hey, I just hang in there. Like, I'm going to come over there. Look, just forget about Hollywood. Don't take on any more projects right now. let's just get together and whatever you want to do, we'll do it. But don't think about any movies. Don't think about nothing right now. Look, I'm writing something that I promise you, you will love this. And it's going to have people see you in a whole new light. I'm telling you, man, what I'm writing with you in mind is going to be successful. It's going to be a box office hit. I'm finishing up the last couple of pages right now. Just hang in there, right? But I'm going to come to you right now. And sadly, Dan Aykroyd, Dan Aykroyd, he was not able to get to his dear friend in time. And for those of you, what was it that he was working on? He was working on the script for Ghostbusters. It's just sad. It was just very tragic. Very tragic. I didn't know what I know now about everything that was going on in Belushi's personal life, the inner struggles that he was having. And the drugs, it did not help him. It did not help him. Was it ultimately his demise? Yeah, of course, but there was a lot more that goes along with that ultimately led to his demise. And I thought they did a really good job in helping the viewer connect more with the man. Did not like hearing the struggles he was having there in the clashing of the heads with Lorne Michaels. That was pretty woo. I gotta tell you, but I would say go out of your way, check it out. You guys want to go down memory lane and all that, you won't be disappointed. There's a lot of moments in there though that's gonna pull at your heartstrings. I gotta tell you that right off the break. It'll definitely tug at your heartstrings. You'll get a little watery eyed, I promise you guys. But overall, check it out. I think to date it's the most comprehensive, all around autobiography that you could ever want about the life of John Belushi, and the fact that the widow got involved with this project, it means that much more. Because who better to talk about somebody than, and you can't help but wonder what would have happened if she didn't go take therapy sessions, and if she would have, because you talk about a plea for help. Here's this guy in this hotel by himself, no friends, nobody, and the people that he's been dependent on the most, nowhere to be found. He can't even get his wife because the therapist is saying, well, look, you hired me to essentially take care of you. We're trying to take care of your problems, and part of your problems is that you're always taking care of John. Well, when do you have time to take care of yourself? If not now, when? Why can't you stay up here with me for a couple of months and, we work on you a little bit more? Her biggest fear was, well, if she stayed up where the therapist was, work out her problems with them, John was going to die during that time frame. And sure enough, she was absolutely right. I can only imagine the guilt trip she gave herself for a series of months, years, without a doubt, about that. Oh man, he would probably be still alive if it wasn't. Can you just imagine? Jesus. But check it out. You guys definitely won't be disappointed. Check it out. Something on a much more lighter note I want to pass along to you guys here. There is a new WWE game that's getting ready to come out in about less than 3 days. WWE Undefeated. I've been giving you guys as much info as I can about this game, and now it's pretty much about to drop. Look, if you are not part of the 500,000 that have pre-registered to be able to play this game when it launches, go pre-register now for your Android and iOS devices. It looks like they're giving some really cool pre-registration goodies, rewards for those of you that pre-register. Check this out. So right now, they got 3 goals that you can achieve by pre-registering. 2 of them have already been unlocked. The first one, 1,000, it looks like they reached 100,000 pre-registrars. So as a result of that, 1,000 battle bucks has been unlocked. The second milestone that was achieved, 250,000 pre-registers, 250 gold. They're 63% away from the final goal. They got to hit 500 pre-registers. Once they get 500, you get to unlock a character. And in this case, you get to unlock AJ Styles. So, if you haven't pre-registered for that game, do it now. You can always go to their website, WWEundefeated.com. And you can pretty much go to the bottom, click on the pre-register on Google Play, or click on the Apple users, enter email below. You can pretty much do it there. But pre-register, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy the game. I'm looking forward to that game. It should actually be a pretty damn good game. I'm looking forward to it. By the way, for you guys that have not seen the trailer of the game just yet, let me show you this. We got a trailer for you guys. So check this out. Now you guys see what I'm talking about as far as the animation reminding me of that King of the Fighters game that I have referenced, where WWE had worked out a deal where you could play as Kofi, Undertaker, Becky Lynch, Seth. Remember, I had mentioned that a couple of weeks ago and everything. Badass game. For those of you that are listening or will be listening to the audio version of this show on demand in the downloads, sorry you guys weren't able to see the footage. Even more the reason why you should check out the webcast shows when you guys get a chance there. But sorry you guys weren't able to, but you can see it. You can see it just, now that ultimately this will be available on demand in the downloads. You'll be able to see what I had showed the folks just now. I'm pretty excited for that game though. I'm looking forward to checking it out. Looking forward to reviewing it as well. So can't wait. I'll probably do some type of a Twitch hangout or something when the game launches, and maybe I'll kick back with you all, and we'll do a little something on here and all that. I think that'd be kind of cool. Other than that, I did see some of the football action that went down this weekend. Really, since the Thanksgiving week, wasn't really that impressed with a lot of the games that I saw. Probably the most competitive out of all the games that we got. I didn't see the Monday night game earlier tonight, but I would say the most competitive that I've seen up to this point was Kansas City taking on the Bucks. I would say that was a really good game, but I got to tell you, I'm really concerned about the relationship between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. I'm really, really concerned because every single time I turn around, it seems like Bruce Arians is trying to deflect. He's not taking any type of self-accountability, and he just continues to throw Tom Brady under the bus. I mean, on the one hand, look, it's one thing if Tom Brady has that understanding with Bruce, and it's, hey, look, you want to call me out in public, you want to get me wild up, you want to fire me up and get me productive on the next game, get me rocking and rolling, help me get extra motivated. Okay, I'm down with that. But I don't think Tom by any stretch has agreed to any terms like that. And I just can't help but wonder, where are we going here? Where are we going here exactly with what's going on with the relationship between Bruce Arians and Tom Brady? I just feel as though this relationship, I just feel as though it's toxic. And it's going to be a case where somebody's going to need to go. Either Tom's going to need to go elsewhere or Bruce is going to need to go elsewhere. And let me tell you something. If that's the game that we're ultimately going to be playing, Bruce is going to lose that game every single day of the week because Tom has the hardware. Bruce does not. Bruce still does not have the hardware. So I don't know. I don't know. It's really looking more and more like Bucks, who are now in a position where they're fighting just to get in the wild card picture. I'm not even sure now if these guys are actually even going to be able to make it into the playoffs. It's weird what is going on. It really, really is. But that's the one thing that really has been jumping out at me the most over the past couple of weeks going into this past weekend has just been those press conferences and Bruce Arians saying what he says. And then, once he puts out what he puts out after the game is done, how he tries to do damage control the next day. Like now you see him try to put a little positive spin. Oh, I believe that with us and Tom Brady at the helm, now I believe we're getting close to achieving our expected success. No, and then of course he responds to what Tony Romo had to say about the Bucks, and I love the points that Tony Romo had brought up with regards to the offense and everything. And in case you guys didn't watch the game or weren't able to during the game, Romo very vocal about his support of Tom Brady and everything, and he was so vocal about Brady. It led a lot of people to thinking, man, is he really being pro Brady here? Is he being a conduit for Brady? Is he like speaking on Brady's behalf after, speaking to Brady and, what's going on here? But, the biggest criticism about the Bucks coming from Romo was the lack of the pre-snap motion. He suggested that they implement more and allow Brady more freedom at the line of scrimmage. And Arians was asked about Romo's comments, and he acknowledged that the Bucks don't utilize a ton of motion right now, but added that some quarterbacks don't like using it too much. And he's right. Some quarterbacks, they don't like the pre-snap movement. They don't. Peyton Manning, he didn't use much of it throughout his entire career. Especially when he was with the Colts. But once he came to Denver Broncos, you started seeing him do it, a bit more. Brady is starting to look like he's getting more comfortable with the guys in motions before the snap there. So, who knows? Two things could be true. I know you guys don't really like that answer, but two things could be true. But Romo was making some really damn good points there with regards to the game on Sunday there. But I don't know. I just kind of get this weird feeling that if Bucks, with all the moves that they made to get Brady, Antonio Brown, Gronk, all those moves, and you can't get into the playoffs, I just have a feeling Bruce is going to be looking for another job. I'm calling that shit right now. I am calling that shit right now. But then it sets up a more interesting question. Well, who would take over? Who would be the new coach? Your guess is as good as mine. That's a good debate for next time. For now, let's go ahead. Let's stick a fork in it. Let's call this show DONE done. It was nice coming back, giving you guys a nice, good deluxe edition of the RCWR show. So at this point, I'm looking at my schedule here. And for those of you that may be wondering, when's the next time I'm going to be back on air with you guys? I can tell you this, now that I'm back from the holiday break, I am going to be dropping a new Impact Showdown. So check that out. That Impact Showdown, I'm actually gonna drop that probably Wednesday night, most likely. I'm gonna probably drop it. If not, maybe later on during the week, because I want to get this episode out there first. I'm looking at the schedule here. I'm working all the way up until Friday night. So, maybe, just maybe, we'll do something Friday night for you guys after SmackDown. I know for sure when WWE Undefeated drops, I will be on Twitch, so make sure you're following me throughout Twitch. I'll probably maybe set up a stream for the other platforms as well, but definitely the Twitch. I'll definitely do something as far as WWE Undefeated gameplay. I think we're going to do something Friday night, though, December 4th. So as long as you're following me on social media, you guys will know for sure if I'm going to be coming on live or not with a new RCWR show. Otherwise, your next edition of the RCWR show will be dropping for sure live Monday, December 7th, 2020. Wow. December 7th, 2020. Quietly, we just celebrated a milestone too while we were on our Thanksgiving break, because it actually occurred during the Thanksgiving break going into now. We just wrapped up 9 years. 9 years. It's our 9-year anniversary of doing this show. So next year marks the big 1-0. Because we began doing this show. Technically, the show began in 2011, but it wasn't on a full-time scale until 2012. So that's why I go 9 years. But 2021, 10 years we're going to be looking at. So got plans for that 10-year anniversary too. More on that as time gets closer. Get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords the RCWR show. Appreciate everybody that was tuning in to the show live tonight. Much love to everybody that tuned in. Much love to everybody that's going to be tuning in, checking out the show on demand, on the downloads. Means a lot as always. Humbly, thank you. Appreciate you guys' support as always. Those of you that will be checking this out on demand and on the downloads, thank you as always. You guys fucking rock. Check out the show on demand and on the downloads wherever you get your podcasts. Please, as you guys are exiting, you haven't subscribe, hit the like, share, retweet, all that good stuff, all right? Until next go round, I am wishing all of you all to be safe, and most importantly, please be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Adios.